Welcome back to another episode of Have Game Will Travel. I'm your host, Dammit Bennett, also known as Bennett Newsome in the gaming community. But as the Director of Esports Growth and Development at Philly University, I'm super passionate about exploring the diverse world of esports and gaming beyond just skill level. So whether you're a first-time listener or a returning fan, we're thrilled to have you here as part of the show through this virtual journey through the experiences of industry professionals. So get ready to engage with our guests and get your questions ready in chat so we can get them answered. But sit back, enjoy the ride as we kick off another episode of Have Game Will Travel. And let's invite our guest in. Tom Screech, how are you doing, sir?
Doing amazing. That was quite an intro. That was I've watched a lot, but to hear it live, I was like, wow, this is amazing. Oh,
I
I'm
did
doing
a
amazing. It's
special
great
for
to be
you.
here.
I did the Damn It
Thank
Bennett
you.
first and then the Bennett
Yeah,
news. Like, just get to switch it up sometimes.
it was amazing. It was an amazing experience. I'm super happy to be here.
I love it, dude. So, well, first and foremost, go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell the people what you do and why you're here.
Yeah, sure. Why I'm here, I don't know. But what I do, I'm the Instructor of Esports Management, Performance and Production over at Harrisburg University. We teach every aspect of esports there. We've also got a couple teams in the varsity scene. So we kind of do a little bit of everything there. I've been in that role for a few years, build courses, deal with internships, help kids get to events. Absolutely love it. It's one of the best things I've ever done. And then kind of on the side to that, very active in the general collegiate esports space too. Helped co-found CFGC, helped work on the executive team of CEN, and working to get that back as well. So that's really fun.
Yeah.
That's some stuff we're working on in the background. So kind of a little bit of everything really
Yeah.
in the collegiate esports space.
Yeah, you've got a lot of projects, a lot of moving parts, which is awesome. We've gotten to see you out in the wild on several occasions. We were both just recently at DreamHack, which was a great time. But let's rewind a little bit. Talk to me, just kind of what originally sparked your interest in esports, and how did you turn that into a career?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I always kind of do my gaming history at the same time because I feel
Yeah.
like it gives everyone a great window of like how you get into it. So I was a World of Warcraft player for a very long time,
Okay.
which is sometimes you admit that people are like, oh, great.
Oh,
This is
here we
one
go.
of those guys. And I kind of, that was my only game for a long time. I played that since I was a teenager. And a friend of mine introduced me when it first came out, this thing called League of Legends. I was like, what the hell's this game? I don't want to like restart every round and level up. And there's different champions. Like I want to keep all my stuff. And then quickly I got very addicted to playing League of Legends. And that was in the early days of, I think it was beta. I remember Nidalee had just come out, and that was like the big thing. Everyone was loving Nidalee. And I kind of played games all through my childhood. I played competitively at a very small level in FIFA back home, which is always fun to kind of meme on. It's like, of course you play FIFA, you're European. And this thing called the LCS popped up. And it was the first season that League of Legends had tried this competitive scene. And my friends and I were sat in our high school and we were watching these absolute nerds come on this screen. I remember like the cloth backdrop, the tables that was clearly plastic, these people coming out and playing this game. And we were fascinated with it. And we quickly became super obsessed with competitive League of Legends. And it's funny because my best friend that I used to watch that with, Dom, he's now an engineer at Riot Games at Dublin. So he has gone like this one direction in esports, and I've gone this other direction, which is really cool. And the coolest thing is I use him to give my students gun buddies. At the end of the season, I'm like, hey, you got any Riot points left I can give out to my students? Make me look cool, please. So that's kind of like how I got into esports. I was always in it as a teenager. I wanted to play. We had made this team. We were called the Typical Five. We were like wanted to go big. Only two of us were good at League of Legends. I was not one of them. So I was like, cool, I'm not going to be a player. Maybe I can work in gaming. I was like, maybe I can make games. Went to college for game design. I wasn't a very good coder. I could 3D model okay. But what I could do really well was like sell games, sell the business side of it, the marketing side of it, connect the community management, getting people involved. And quickly I became that kid that I was like always presenting first. So it was, oh, who wants to do the first? Well, Tom will do it. He'll just do it. Let's get him out of the way, and he can talk for the first 20 minutes. And I kind of naturally had that selling, I guess, ability in me. graduated college, and I always was a fan of esports. I was always trying to get involved in it somehow. But back home, the market hadn't really evolved as it was over here in America. So kind of every European fan, if you went into CS:GO, you were like, "Oh my god, let's go to America. This would be amazing." And I kind of found my opportunity when out of nowhere I kind of came over here for a master's degree on a whim and started. I was like, what's this collegiate esports? This is amazing. Like, why are these, what's going on? And it wasn't on my campus, but I kind of found all these companies. I was enthralled with the entire thought of like collegiate esports. This is amazing. This is incredible. It's what I would have loved to have done when I was definitely in school, but I went to game design instead. Through that, I did an assignment where I was reaching out to a bunch of people to interview them. And I interviewed this guy called Tom Panico at a company called Philly Esports. And at the end of it, he offered me a job. He was like, "Hey, do you want to come on and help us with sales and business?" I was like, "Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
Why not? Screw it, I'll do this." Managed to convince my professor to let me get credit points for it. So I counted it as like an internship, and kind of have never looked back. Once I graduated, I went to CSL Esports, quickly turned into Playfly. And then from Playfly, Naystar League, from Naystar League into Harrisburg. And here I am today. It was a long-winded answer.
Yeah, no, it's great. I mean, like there's so much to unpack there, and I think like you talk about the interest in game design and really looking at kind of branching out, and I think that's part of what the show is all about, right? Is that you have an interest and there's this, I want to do this thing, and then you're like, I'm not the greatest at this thing. I'm not good at the game to be a pro. Like there's all these different things, but like you find this avenue and you're like, okay, I there's this niche I can fit into, and I can approach that, and you've had a successful career in it, which is awesome. And so we're gonna dive into all of that. Obviously, you've worked in a lot of different sides of the industry, which I think is really unique and part of why I'm excited to have you here today. From industry, games, business development, education. Like, what has been like the most unexpected part of that journey for you?
It was finding out how interconnected this community was actually incredible. I tell people that teaching in esports is like my 12th job. I've done a lot of jobs getting to this point. I've worked at a lot of places. I've done customer service at a railway station. I've worked on hotel facilities in Dubai. I've done a lot of random things. And in those industries, no one really cared about each other. It was very business, very just we'll receive the product, we'll do the work, we'll send you the contract, that's it. You meet people at events, but you don't really hang out. In this one, it's like the biggest thing I love about my job is I have an amazing group of friends all across this community, and it's like it makes everything so much easier to do because I can just reach out to basically any coach or director across the country, ask them a question if I have a question about one of my classes, or reach out to any of the number of other lecturers in the space. Great example is like with Shenandoah. I reach out to them all the time. I'm like, "Hey, what do you guys think of this class I'm working on? What do you think I can change? What do you think I can improve on? What do you think sucks?" And you don't really get that in any other industry I've worked in. And that's the really cool thing is the community that we've got here.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's so true. When we first got started in the esports space at Full Sail, we did the same thing. We're like, "Hey, what's going on here?" And we were like blown away at just how like ungate kept this whole collegiate space was, and that was such a cool part of it. It was like, wait, okay, so then you in turn go and do those things as you help out another school, or someone asks you want to make sure that you're providing that stuff. So like that community you're absolutely right, it's great. Like I mentioned, we got to see each other at DreamHack, and there was a huge group of us just all hanging out. It was like we hung out like a week ago, like it was like we've been best friends for forever, because it just everybody in that community comes together and they're looking to have a good time and really progress what I think everyone's doing in that collegiate esports space. So definitely love the community. Like the community vibes are best.
It's amazing. It's like seeing everyone and just giving them like a huge big hug. Like people who are essentially competitors for you, if you do think about it on the grand scheme of things. Like if businesses are looking to invest, they're going to choose certain programs over others, but like there's none of that animosity at these places. It's not like, well, you got this big deal and I didn't get it. It's the best. It really is.
Absolutely. So talk to me about how you mentioned earlier when you're kind of going through your roles about Philly Esports
Mhm.
and Playfly. How did that like approach your kind of model to building partnerships and business development in the collegiate space for you?
Yeah, so I've always been slightly a bit of a rebel with things in life. So when I got into my MBA course, for example, I was the only one that didn't show up with a suit and tie. And I'm not trying to do that in like, oh, I'm an edgy millennial, but just from the point of like, it's silly. We
Yeah.
don't need to come to class in a suit and tie. We all know we're doing business work. We don't have to pretend that it's some sort of exclusive club that people can't get into. And when I graduated, I didn't realize, but when I started to do that in my work more, I performed better.
Yeah.
So when I went into these places, I immediately was like, well, let's, we don't need another energy drink partner. We don't need another fast food partner to come in and try and just make a quick cash grab from the community
Right.
because of how well knit this community is and how together it is. They remember when these companies mess up.
Yep.
So it was about finding the right people to bring in that would actually help the community go forward. Which is like, for example, BetterHelp, right?
Yeah.
Controversial, I know sometimes, but for what it's worth, when we did that deal at Nace Star League, the key thing I was like, look, no matter how much you're giving us, I want free therapy for every single student. And I think something like 8,000 students signed up for a trial
Yeah.
through our league. And I was like, wow, this is
That's
this is
huge.
actually a chance to make a difference. Like 8,000 people felt improved. And I did that with like healthy gaming activities. I got a partner with a personal training app that I was a user of that I thought was great, and I thought I'd bring into the community. And I've done that quite a few times. Ground News is another great example. I knew the marketing team really well from a start because I used it, thought it was a great app, brought it to the league, and everyone was like, "This is brilliant. This
Yeah.
makes perfect sense. This is great." So it's really been about that. It's been about like sometimes arguing with the bosses and saying, "No, this is more important right now. We actually need to make positive impact
Yeah.
to grow our community, to build not just a fan base, but like an impact that makes people's lives better through this
Yeah.
activity." It was really something that I harped on a lot about.
Yeah, and I mean, those are huge areas of opportunity in this space, right? We talk all the time about burnout and
Mhm.
depression and toxic behavior in in gaming. Like those are all things that some of those partnerships that you're talking about can really help and support. And the fact that 8,000 people reached out, I mean,
Yeah, it
that's
was
a huge
crazy.
deal.
I used to check that dashboard like daily, and I tried checking it after I left the company, and they like immediately cut my credentials, and I had a moment there that I was like, "Damn, I'll never know like the true impact." But it
Yeah.
was it was amazing. It was so cool to see. So cool to see.
Yeah, that's really cool. So obviously you made that transition then to education, right? So Harrisburg University, what drew you to like education, specifically that school, and what are you enjoying most about teaching esports?
Yeah, so I always used to joke with my family that I always wanted to be a teacher, but I knew there was no money in it. So I wanted to do business first. And
Right.
then, like, after I'd made some money and could relax and be a teacher, be a teacher. And it came around way quicker than I was ever expecting. I never made the money. I got into education very, very early, which is funny because a lot of people still confuse me for a student, which is a great prank to play
Yes.
to the freshman class is to walk in and be like, I'm the teacher. Got you.
Yep.
You weren't expecting this. So yeah, I got into education really from kind of the bottom up, which is what I always tell people that if they want to get into education, you should do. Which is, I guest lectured for a bunch of classes at Harrisburg, and then I was brought on to mentor some students through a project, and then I was brought on to teach a class part time, and then it was a teacher class full time online, and then it was, hey, we could use you in person,
Yeah.
so moved to Harrisburg and joined them and haven't looked back since. It's absolutely fantastic. I was I pretty much kind of lucked into Harrisburg specifically. Obviously, I knew it was a massive esports school, had a huge name, and it carried a lot of weight in this space. But it just so happened that the guy I met at Philly Esports was also teaching at Harrisburg University at the time.
Okay.
So when I was networking and saying to him, "Look, I'm really looking to get out," he's like, "Well, we need people to teach at Harrisburg. You have your master's degree.
Yeah.
That's what you need to teach. Why don't you try it?" And I was like, "I can't teach.
Yeah.
Something I haven't thought of before." And then within 6 months, I was building classes out, taking courses on how to actually teach children and teach students and build curriculum and It's absolutely fantastic. Activates all like the creative part of my brain
Yeah.
to come up with things. And I adore my students. They're absolutely fantastic. And to see some of them come out of their shell and grow and develop, and take internships, and like, especially it's especially funny when they take internships at like stuff I work on. There's a great student called Fo who showed up at the CFGC Discord. I was like, "The hell are you doing here?"
Yeah.
He's like, "Oh, I have an internship at CFGC." I was like, "A, you're my student. B, I work there," and I had no idea. This is awesome. Like, it's so funny to see them kind of go out and do these things, and that's kind of like the proudest thing for me. Is like, I call them my kids, even though some of them are like 6 years younger than me.
Yeah, right. It is. I mean, I think that's the great part about this space, is that, we get to kind of vicariously live through the experiences of our graduates and our students as they go out into the world and do really, really cool things, in esports and other areas, which, they, keep new students keep coming in, and you have another opportunity to help guide them in the direction that they're trying to go. So, I mean, it's such a rewarding experience, I think, for all of us, which is really cool. And obviously you try to bring a lot of like that real world experience into your classroom. What sort of impact has that had for your students?
I think it's honestly, to like exaggerate a tiny bit, it is the reason they come to school, is that like experiential learning, it's that working. Because uniquely in esports, and it's funny to say this to you because obviously you know it, but uniquely to esports, being that kind of tier 2 presence for this community, having now college starting to grow and really being that thing that the professionals really can't ignore, and bring all these players in, and so on and so forth. We have such incredible access to the professional level of our sport, which is very rare for an educational program to get, unless you're in one of these big schools that works. You're in Kansas and you've got all the Kansas teams to work with.
Right.
Really, we're a tiny school in the center of a small town not in Harrisburg, in Pennsylvania. You know what I mean? Like, we would have to travel far and wide to give those students that MLB, NFL level experiential learning. But here at Harrisburg, we can give our students that hands-on. Hugh Fest is a great example of that, bringing in the professional players that the teams bring in, and seeing my student that 3 weeks ago wouldn't offer any kind of, wouldn't talk in class, wouldn't do a presentation, go off and do map picks and bans with 4 people that are former pros and a former pro coach who have had that experience on stage. That's a confidence boost that you can never buy elsewhere. You cannot teach that into them. They have to experience that, and then suddenly they come back to class and they're the most attentive they've ever been, because they're like, well, last week I was doing this thing, and I'm like, yeah, see, it's a very cool thing you can be doing. Like, we're very new, we're very raw, we're very much looking for people to stake their claim to their nichety. Like, if you're a good ref, then go and be the best esports ref you can ever be. That is something you should aim for. Same with broadcasting, same with even just being admin, HR. I have a student that loves registration. I kid you not, their favorite thing every year is to sit down and go, how am I doing the registration for this event? Do I need to talk to security now, or should I wait a couple of weeks? It's like, buddy, we have 6 months. You don't need to go and like lay the table out right now. Yeah. He's like, what color are the lanyards going to be? Are they in different boxes? It's like, we're going to be good. So you know what I mean? It's like it's giving everyone that opportunity. Because I always say it kind of, you either have those kids that do game design, and you have those kids that do comp sci, and then esports now is that massive gap in the middle that collects those students that didn't fall in either two of those sections. I was a game design kid. I would have done esports every day of the week if I had the choice.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's great to see students that are like that they know, right? We always say that about full sail students, is like they come here, they know what they're doing, they know where they want to go, they know where they want to be. Unlike most college students who are going to change their major 3 or 4 times, like they're like, no, I want to do registration for a living, like that's it, right? So like it's really cool to see when students have that and that passion, that spark to just be like, oh, we're doing this. So from your program, like obviously you have a lot of students going through it. From an instructor standpoint, how do you define success for a student that comes out of the esports management program?
Setting them up to the ability. That's a great question. Setting them up with the ability to survive in life, whether it's esports or not.
Yeah.
When I first started, I was like, well, okay, well, I'll get them a job. You can find out ways to get them employed. And what we're now realizing in esports is we're almost seeing an overabundance of qualified people
Yeah.
that are now looking for their second opportunity in esports. So these jobs that the students might have been looking to get 3 or 4 years ago are now starting to go to people that have 3 or 4 years of experience.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really kind of it's lately it's been prepping the students to say, okay, you want to do broadcasting, that's great. There probably isn't going to be an esports assistant broadcasting job that's remote when you graduate. That's like a fact. That's a company has to be in a very specific situation to need that role.
Right.
You can get maybe some in-person things, that might be an option. And then it kind of goes in the question like, okay, well then, has this student moved house before? How can I actually help them do that? How can I help them kind of get prepared to live on their own or deal with taxes? Or like, I have one student that can't drive. So it's all been like, how do we find them places that have got public transport and actually set them up with success? And sometimes it's like, if the biggest achievement is getting the kid that in year 1 read manga and watched anime every class, by year 4 they're paying attention, like that is good. That's growth. That's what we've seen.
Yeah.
Like we can't, I've had to learn it myself, is like we can't get everyone perfect before they graduate. Sometimes we have to just work on these things, and sometimes it's like making rice, learning to live on your own for the first time. Deadlines.
Mm-hmm.
I had a student email me at 1 a.m. saying they weren't going to make class at 8 a.m. because they just hit Challenger in League of Legends. And you know what I mean? It's like a very unique position to be in, that because I didn't see that email till 6 a.m. How do I react to my student just not being like, can I miss class? Just being like, I met top rank. I'm not coming in. I'm going to be tired, man. It's a really unique experience. And I'm glad that student can reach out and talk to me and say those questions and be honest. But it is like, if you're on a different degree, how would the teacher react?
Right.
How is esports trying to build these people up?
Right. Yeah. And I like that the idea of being versatile from like a career standpoint. Like, hey, this is what you're going for. This is the passion. There's other avenues to get there, right? Like that makes the opportunity to continue to gain experience and knowledge even better while you're still pursuing other things, right?
Yeah. I mean, the great student is the kid that loved registration. He's gone on and he's now a district manager for Amazon. You know what I mean? Like he's moved out to Michigan. He's on his own. They took him out to Seattle. They gave him training.
Awesome.
And he says he came out for graduation. He's like, look, all that event planning, every single like spreadsheet management, like it has helped me do better in my job. And I was like, that is amazing to hear. You're not working esports anymore, but you took it as an opportunity to get your education and work on these skills and then graduate with something that you can then take to the real world, which is awesome because it's true. It's like everything has transferable skills. It's just colored differently. It's like you manage a spreadsheet at work, you manage a spreadsheet here, you manage a spreadsheet here. You're managing a spreadsheet in 3 different places. It's like you build those skills no matter what it looks like. It is incredible to see. Really cool.
Absolutely. So you were also one of the co-founders for the collegiate fighting game community. Obviously, we've had Hell on Pause in the show, so that's a huge deal as well. But talk to us from your perspective, the inspiration behind CFGC and what led into that.
Yeah, it's funny because being a co-founder is always interesting because I was there to get it started, but like where it is now, Jason and Albie have done so much to do the work that I always remind people, I'm like, I was there and I help a little bit now and then, but like they really keep the ship going. I'm like, Jason and I meet all the time. We talk. I'm in the Discord. I help out, but like, I'm trying to take more of a stake now. I'm hopefully going to do more marketing stuff for them as it goes. But how did it get started? It was basically being chronically online. I saw 2 people talking about starting a fighting game conference, and I sent Jason a message. I was like, can I help with this at all? Yeah. And I was at NACE Star League at the time, and I was like, I don't think I can. And then when I basically transitioned over to Harrisburg, I was like, well, now I'm, more free to help out. And I just basically started with the initial outreach, got the kind of groundwork set with him of like just finding out interest, doing that like really first basic marketing. Yeah. And once we got that out, it kind of, Jason really took it, ran with it. I was there to kind of help it get started. But it was really interesting. It's taught me a lot because the FGC, the fighting game community, is really a community within a community. Yeah. It's a pocket universe. It exists really within esports, and also it exists and resists the kind of outside forces of esports. Right?
Yeah.
They can really spot a fake person even if you're like, well, hey, I love all of the other esports, I'm new to
Mhm.
the FGC, or like, I'm when people come in and they grift a little bit, they're like, well, no, we know you're an esports person, but you're not an FGC person.
Yeah.
So that's why like Albie and Jason really give legitimacy, because they
Oh
know their
yeah.
FGC stuff.
Oh yeah.
I'm very much learning the community. So that's been my biggest thing, is just learning and understanding and being like, wow, this is, they have unique needs. They also have a completely unique market.
Yeah.
It's like, the game controllers, the way the FGC is just set up. I mean, it's one of the early esports where you have the people sat next to each other sharing a screen.
Yeah.
I mean, that, like, you cannot name another. Imagine if Rocket League was just in front of a 40-inch screen and you're sat
Right.
next to each other. So it has a very unique challenge, and helping them figure that out and kind of building the partnership side of things. Although Jason has done mostly all of the work on that, I've just been there to say that looks cool and this looks cool and here's a pitch deck.
Yeah.
So kind of seeing them bloom, and it's like watching Jason and Albie in that league bloom and
Yeah.
grow is a joy to experience. Seeing the Discord, I think the coolest thing, which Jason also mentioned, was like watching our Discord be a place for students in other fighting game communities to come together and be like, hey, does anyone want to scrim? The NECC game is here. I need someone for like half an hour beforehand. And seeing them kind of grow and develop and just flourish has been incredible.
Yeah. So what, like, for the collegiate space, like, what do you think? Why is the FGC so important in the collegiate space, and like what, why start this league? Why try to continue to build that? Like, obviously esports is esports. This is a niche, right? Like you talked about, very, very like, hey, you're in esports, but you're not in the CFC. Like, so that's a really interesting thing. I would love to learn more about that.
Yeah, it's. I think it comes again from that place of wanting to have a space for everybody to feel like their game matters.
Yeah.
The big thing we've done lately which is Jason's great idea, which is introducing a seasonal title, which is like, okay, this has maybe 50 people, 30 people that are interested, but you guys are going to get your shot. And if it does really well, then maybe screw it. We'll just keep it as a full title. We're in a position where it's not super, super expensive to add an extra league. Maybe it is. Maybe
we'll see.
We'll see. But we're in a position, I suppose, bandwidth-wise, that we can get one up pretty simple. And it's really just been about creating that space for those niche players. Jason has a really great story where he talks about how he always wanted to give more FGC players chances to play, but they will always play Smash.
Right.
You want to do fighting games, you can go do Smash. You want to do fighting games, you can go do Smash.
And that's true, right? Yeah, like most
exactly.
schools, they have a Smash team, but they may not have a Street Fighter team, right? Like they may not have insert this fighting game, in their varsity ranks.
Yeah, exactly. And one of a really good comparison I always use is like when you went to the arcades, Smash wasn't there.
Right.
Smash wasn't the fighting games that people have always been playing. It's Street Fighter, it's Tekken, it's Mortal Kombat. So giving those games a place to play has kind of, that was really why they started and why we kind of grew so quick.
Oh yeah.
I've been learning of like game titles I've never heard of. Guilty Gear Strive is a big one. That was funny because I had assumed was a recent title, and Jason was like, "No, this is like 20 years old."
Yeah, it's like Soul Calibur was my jam back in the day, dude. That's what I would go to the arcade for.
Yeah, sure. I was telling him, I was like, "Oh, these new games like Guilty Gear, I can't keep up with it. It's a new title." He's like, "What do you mean it's a new title? It's been out for ages." It's like, "Oh, this is again fake. I'm fake again."
Hey, no, you're evolving, you're learning, you're expanding, right? That's what we're doing. I love that. No, we got our first question here from chat. Comes from our good friend Jacob is Nachos. He asks, what are some things currently happening within this space, like CFGC, that you get excited about the future and or keep motivating you to spread the good word of collegiate esports?
Sure, great question. I think student development is absolutely massive. We're now seeing the point where controversial awards, people sometimes they love them, sometimes they hate them. Personally, I think they're amazing because we get to highlight our students. I think we get to show that our students are doing great work, because what you often see is things like the marketing awards or the social media awards, quite a lot of these places don't have paid positions for that. That is all students running that, as you well know. That is students doing the great work. And I was on a panel down in Texas, the ESTA one, and I was saying it's like, we trust our students to play the games at the high level. We can trust our students to produce content at a high level. We can trust our students to manage admin at a high level. We can trust our students to do a lot of stuff. So seeing them bloom and seeing them come out of this, and seeing the kids that are doing insanely good work, and then seeing them be picked up by a company the moment they graduate, I'm like, that's amazing. That's exactly what we're doing. We're building better people. We're building better students. We're building better workers. We're building better just all around people in general. And when one goes off and they succeed, it's just absolutely amazing to see. And as the leagues grow, and CFGC is another example, is we then have this complete new orbit of new talented people that are going to help out. Someone that maybe loves graphic design but wasn't really attached to any of these other titles, but they love Guilty Gear Strive. Suddenly they're going to be working till midnight to make graphics for Guilty Gear Strive. And it's a great example, is like Lindsay said, she used to make fan art for Overwatch, and that's how she got started in it. And it's like, you create these spaces for people to be themselves. Suddenly they start being themselves, and it's really amazing.
That's really cool. We've got another question here from Samurai Tank. As a founder and an educator and general overall awesome project manager extraordinaire, do you have any tips on time management or juggling commitments?
God, thank you, Sarah. That's very kind of you. Yeah, I strongly believe in. Well, it sucks because now it's going to make me sound like I don't care about other work, but kind of prioritizing things. Sometimes things just have to be done, whether I want to do them or not. And it's things like, I'm building 3 classes out right now. I've got 7 weeks till the semester starts. So it's like, I'm just purely doing it. That is everything. I wake up, and when my brain hurts, I kind of move on to something else. I'm shock horror. I have ADHD. So
it got you too, huh?
Yeah. Whoa, I don't know how that happened. I was fine. No, but I tell my students, I ADHD, I'm dyslexic, and I'm left-handed. So I'm like, I bounce around a lot, and I use that to my advantage, which is like, is it the healthiest thing in the world? Probably not. But, having multiple tabs open of other things, and then getting 15, 20 minutes go to work, and then being like, okay, all right, my brain's tired of this. Let's move to the next thing, plow through it, move to the next thing, go through it. Notebooks is the best thing. I'm a very techie person, so for the longest time, I believed that I was like, right, I have to use technology for my full advantage. Like, there has to be the perfect notes app. Like, it has to do all this. And I was big into Obsidian for a long time, used to take a lot of notes. And then suddenly I just stopped using it. And I realized, I was like, there are some things that just are good, and notebooks are just good. Write everything down in a notebook. I tab it, I highlight it, I color code it, I flick back and forth. It is my Bible, and I go through a bunch. I love my notebook. I take it everywhere with me. It's a bit too attached. I as with every person, sticker bomb, my bottle. I'm looking for it. Oh, it's here. Show it off. Look at that. Stickers galore. And I've now started it with my notebook. So
love that.
Like, it's becoming an extension of me there as well. So yeah, it's really about like prioritizing and getting I kind of call it like mental offloading, just getting stuff out of your brain onto paper, and then you can kind of focus on things, and also like writing down ideas. I ruminate a lot on just random ideas or random products, and I find it's really helpful to just like write them down as well.
Yeah, love that.
Which is funny for a left-handed person to do.
You're right. We've got another big fan of Tom in the chat, and they ask, if someone believes that they might want to be a professor one day, how would you recommend that they set themselves up for that?
Yeah, I mentioned it kind of at the start, which is getting involved, at the lowest level. So it's like finding someone who runs a class, wink, wink, nod, nod, that needs a guest lecture, and asking them if you can speak to the class. I have a bunch of classes where I need people to come and talk, because sometimes there is only so much of listening to me talk about something that the students will do, and bringing in an expert that has been doing it for longer than I've been doing it is helpful, on things like broadcasting. There's certain topics where it's like, the business side of things, like I don't really use guest lectures for, because I used to guest lecture on that stuff, so I just give the same lectures. But like like marketing within esports, those are areas that I've casting, content creation, broadcast. So I'm always looking for people to bring in, but so are other teachers. It's not just me. Like everyone is looking for guest lectures to come in, and it's really is just about figuring out the angle that you can provide to these students, because you can't teach them everything that you want to, but you can teach them your nicheity. So it's like for some classes, I lean heavy into like, look, this is where I'm going to teach you how to critically think. Yes, it says it's, I'd use an example, brand analysis, but like the core is critically thinking. That is what we are working on right now. That is the skill we are developing. So it's figuring out things like that, like working on teaching the students skills, and guest lecturing, and then you kind of work your way up of like, well, okay, I guest lectured. Do you need project help? Can I help out on a project? Even like TAing, like can I sit in on other lectures? As long as the school is okay with it, then they kind of give professors a lot of leeway to let people sit in on lectures if they want. So it's you kind of start from the bottom and work your way up. It's funny because it's almost like how how like the police or the military, like they have their code and they have their chain of command. It's very much like that in education. Like you cannot go above your post. So you've got to bide your time and wait till you're like, perfect, I've done my thank you, I've done my duty in the mailroom, I can go up and have a nice classroom now. So it's kind of like like you have to earn your stripes sometimes. Exactly.
100%. So talking about climbing the ladder, you've been through this, right? Like you've gone through and you started at the bottom, you've worked your way up, you've done the guest lectures, you've done all these things, you've founded these, other kind of startups. Talking about like college esports news, obviously that's an important topic. What makes you think that was working so well? Like why did you get involved with that?
Yeah, it's funny because before Collegiate Esports News started, I had, not that I'm ever claiming to have the idea, but I was like, we need some like media person to come in. We need someone to be producing the news. We need someone covering this. And then like 2 months later, I think Sheridan sent the first tweet. I was like, oh, this is perfect timing. So I wasn't waiting for it that long, but I knew that a bunch of other people were. It was that need to have an outlet. Every industry needs to have an outlet. That's why you've got Camping World magazines, and you've got Fishers Weekly, you've got the quilting magazines and the cooking magazines. It's just like any other industry. There needs to be some sort of outlet of independent media. Let's call it that, right? So I think we really filled that void of providing content, but it wasn't just crap content. It wasn't just half-assed content. It wasn't just content that like, oh, this is cool, you kind of covered the event, but you didn't really speak to the why and the reason and the community to it. And then suddenly I think we came in, we did things like the jersey competition, right? Getting people to come together as a community to show off the work they've done. I think naturally brings people together. And it's funny because people always ask me, they're like, are you guys doing a bracket again this year? And I'm like, we have been on hiatus for 6 months. Maybe, hopefully we will.
Please?
But like, where have you been? So it's I think it was that. It was filling a need for independent voices to report on what's happening. And I think we did an absolute fantastic job of that. And also providing unique coverage, like going to events and providing the coverage of these events and recapping things. I remember last year at the NACE convention down at Full Sail, when we were still covering it, I was like texting every award winner the second it happened, like straight to Sheridan, because it's like, it's just reporting things, like being an independent voice to say, hey, NACE did this really cool thing, or NECC did this really cool thing, or ECAC did this really cool thing. And it was really fun. And like I said, we are working to bring it back. So just getting the foundations things set. I think we suffered last time from overextension, which is natural of every company that kind of spreads as quick as we did, because I think we like sprouted up on this core content pillar and had to stretch out to cover everything, and then we fell. And I think it wasn't not for trying. We did an incredible job. We still did, but it was kind of ready to reassess things, and that's what we're doing now. And very, very excited for the new kind of face of Sten when we're ready to come back.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, Sheridan's been a guest on the show. Jason's been a guest
Yep.
on the show. You can find those episodes in the playlist here, either on Twitch or YouTube. But for you, balancing both of those things, that's got to be a responsibility. Talk to me a little bit about uh, playing and being involved in multiple projects as well as a full-time gig, and like how do you balance all of these things?
Yeah. Have you ever watched Parks and Recreation?
Yeah.
Do you know the episode where April schedules everything for Ron on March 31st because she thinks it doesn't exist, and the
Yes.
day comes? That's what I
Hmm.
do. I push everything to Wednesdays.
Okay.
So every week on a Wednesday, I'll do 8-9 hours of meetings, and get kind of like the alternative things out of the way, and then the rest of the week I just kind of really try to power through and work on everything else. Um, it it really just comes down to I've always been the person that works on multiple projects. I've always played multiple games. I've always had multiple pots
Yeah.
on at the same
Yep.
time. So it's kind of just been that natural thing that I've always worked on a lot of things at the same time. It was funny actually because when I first left Playfly and I was trying to bring the sponsorships out, I was like, I represent like 3 different brands. How do I I can't reach out to one person from one thing and then the next day from a different email be like, hey, so I emailed you yesterday. I'm now with a different, like, just switching my glasses
Yep.
out. Like I couldn't do that. So I had to kind of like figure out how to unify that, which I did to some degree. But it was really just about like, okay, like what days can I balance things out? Like,
Yeah.
if there's a meeting that can't be skipped that's on a Tuesday for CFGC, then okay, I'll block a couple hours of CFGC work around that meeting. So
Right.
then I'm
Yeah.
in my CFGC brain. I can kind of keep things going. I always try to strike all the irons hot too. So
Yep.
if I am building a lecture for Harrisburg and I'm like, oh, I have this idea that could work for CEN, I'll like go and write it down and try to work that out a little bit. And then when that kind of fuse runs out, I go, okay, now I'll go back to the thing I was doing before. So it's chaotic balancing.
Yeah. So how do you grow these two initiatives here, like CFGC, College Esports News? Like, what is the pathway for growth in those areas?
Yeah, it's a great question. Collegiate Esports News, I think the pathway for growth is kind of reuniting the community that we had, bringing new people in, kind of getting it to a point where it lives very naturally. We get stuff in, it is processed to our standard, and it goes out, and we just build that cycle nicely. And I think once we have that content cycle going, we can start to expand. But I think we're really going to expand into ways we can use the good pedigree is a terrible word, but to use the good pedigree we have of our name and help grow the community, help
Yeah.
actually push the community forward and like, okay, well, this isn't just us covering an event. It's like, let's figure out how to cover the event, but grow and bring the community together. And
Yeah.
maybe we have a jersey competition there and kind of we go crazy and really use those things, because I think we've learned, and it's funny because it's the same with CFGC is like the true worth of bringing the community together, because we have such a good community. So it's like, getting these in-person events and like at those in-person events, what can we actually do that
Right.
not just, okay, we're playing video games and we're going to sit and watch video games.
Yeah.
Do we need to have some meetings? Do we need to, this is the perfect time to bring partners in and say,
Yeah.
hey, look, maybe you don't want to work with us, but maybe you can come in and just take a look at what we're doing, and advertise ourselves that way. So growth is really, I think, just like, it's a simple answer, but it's like, yeah, just seeing growth is growth, like
Yeah.
expanding into things that don't leave us hanging, and figuring out ways that we can sustainably grow rather than just rapid expansion. We're left overextended, and don't have any kind of cause that we can return to. Building those cores up and expanding slowly, I think, is the best way to do it. And also expanding where the need is,
Yeah.
not just saying, hey, we have this cool idea we think will work, but we're not going to listen to anyone else and we're just going to do it. It's like, okay, well, we did the first round of feedback and people didn't really gel with it.
Yeah.
Let's not bother. When I was doing my master's degree, I learned about this financial thing about just improving the 1%. It's like, theoretically, if it costs $15 million and you make $15,001, you should do the project. That's like the calculation that you run out. Because you've done all your costs, it's not going to cost you over that. You've done all your expected revenue, you're going to know what you make. The $1, that is benefit for the company. Whether it's $1 or $1 million, it's profit. I know, obviously, a very big scale, but we're in the stage where if we make $1 profit, that's amazing. You know what I mean?
Let's go.
We're at the point of like, okay, it didn't cost us. Yeah. That is perfect. We have grown 1%. Yeah. That is all we needed to do this year. Brilliant. We aren't in the red. We survived. We made it through, because then what we don't need to do is scale back, which is what happens in esports a lot. Yeah. Is you get people that come in, drop a load of money. It didn't get the impact they wanted because all they just did was give 240 grand off to someone that doesn't know the industry. And then that money's gone forever. They don't have that $250,000 they can give out anymore. But instead of like starting small and going, well, yeah, cool, we did this, and now we're ready to show you how big the impact can be with the right push behind us.
Yeah. What do you think like the biggest misconceptions? Because essentially these are like startups, right? Like both of these things. What do you think like in the esports space are kind of the biggest misconceptions when it comes to building a startup and taking on roles within trying to bring something new to the table?
It's a great question. I think it's this. It sounds might be a little bit controversial, a little bit of a hot take, but like understanding that if you are joining something, you have a very specific role to play, and you need to perform the job you're going to say you're going to do,
right?
Because we rely on you for that. Because if we weren't using you, we would have that role covered.
Yeah,
and that's like the big thing. Is like we're in a startup phase. All of us are working till 11 o'clock at night. None of us are getting paid from this. The best I can do is, staff game night and a pizza every so often when I get my paycheck through, and I'll pay for it, and it's not coming from the company.
Right.
But like understanding that if we work at this all together, in a few years' time, we can get to a position where this is amazing for everybody, and we can bring on 50 people, and we've got pensions and healthcare, and everyone is living with a pool. You know what I mean? It's like, we can get to that point, but you cannot come in and just think that your 30 minutes every half a month is going to help push us forward, because it's like we need, and that's not a criticism. If people are genuinely too busy to help out, that's fine. But it's like then it sometimes it's like it's figuring out like the nichety of your support. I've had to learn that myself. I was very guilty of saying, I'd love to help you out, and then the person's like, well, cool, what can you do? And I'm like, well, what do you need?
Yeah.
And it's like that doesn't help the person out, because
I want to be involved.
Yeah, I was like, I want to be involved. Let me just do something. So I had to learn very quickly. I was like, well, let me review your documents. Let me look at your marketing. Like, what are you doing for this? Do you have this covered? Is this something that I could do? And then suddenly you see that you're like, wow, all these people need this help. It's like, well, no, you finally built yourself a niche.
Yeah. And I think that brings like a really good point, because you see this a lot with students, right? Where they're like, I want to be involved. I want to be involved. I want to be involved. And okay, well, what does that mean? Like, like when you come and you say, hey, I'm going to do XYZ thing for this event or business or whatever project, that's way more impact, because whoever is in charge of those things now, okay, this is my person now, like that I'm going to you for TO, because that is, you have this here, right? Like you want to review documents, I'm going to go to Tom Screech, right? Like that, knowing that, I think gives whoever's running and in charge of those things like a huge opportunity to know specifically what there is. And like you said, just being involved isn't enough, right? Like you've got to be hey, I'm very specific about what I'm trying to do here.
Yeah, it's also it's like it's the network's also very important. It's like, okay, you can help us, this is amazing, but like we need you to plug it away, please. Help us grow that community on the other side too. I like people that are a representation of like what they do. And it, just a personal thing, but it's like, like live and breathe it, really take it on. And if it's not for you, that's totally fine. We'll find maybe a smaller role, but it's like some roles you need to do a lot. Great example is like Sheridan at CN, her role takes a hell of a lot to do.
Yeah.
Albie, Jason, their roles take a lot to do, and only really those people could do it because they're equipped to do it.
Yeah.
And they kind of knew that, and they knew the service they could provide, and they're all doing incredible stuff.
Yeah. One thing that I ask everybody that comes on the show is where you see the future of collegiate esports going. Like, how is this evolving over the next few years? And I've gotten a lot of different takes on that and different directions. For you, obviously you got kind of your hand in a lot of different avenues. Where do you see the future of collegiate esports evolving to over the next couple of years?
I think it's going to be really. It's funny because it depends, doesn't it?
Yeah,
It depends
it
how
does.
certain angles go. It depends how certain people in the position choose to do what they're going to do in the next few years.
Yeah.
Whether this industry will grow or whether it'll stay the way it is, or whether, as Dan Clerk always famously says, it ends up like the rock climbing wall. My hope is that we go in the right way, that we get some sort of central guidance. We get some position where the rules are very set, people respect them, we treat it like a proper sport.
Yep.
And then we also have the education side of things, and then we also appreciate the fact that this is an entertainment. It's different, is it a sport? Yes, it's a sport, but it's also an entertainment. It's a form of entertainment. It's like a movie. It's like a show. It's like theater.
Yeah.
It has that different aspect than a football game, than the kind of traditional sports, as we say.
Yeah.
So yeah, seeing it grow into like really being a feeder system, really being a place where the professionals that are working in the esports space, they're like, yeah, no, I went to this course and I did this and I learned all this broadcasting stuff, and now I'm the broadcasting lead at Riot. And then like, well, that's crazy because I went to this business school that specialized in esports, and now I'm working at this business side of things. And then the person's like, that's crazy, I did ops. And it just goes on and on and on.
Oh, yeah.
And then we're at the same point where the players are like, yeah, I just did 4 years at this school and I did 3 years at this school. And, I moved up early. I got picked quick, screw it. Maybe we even it goes as far as having a draft, like having the position where it's just legitimized is where I really hope it goes, because then we get to the point where everyone takes it seriously and everyone ages up and everyone's like, wow, this is a real thing. And we don't have the position that I was in where their parents were like, oh, video games are dumb. Why are you doing this?
You're wasting your time, right?
You're wasting your time. And it's like, well, joke's on you. Now I waste more of my time doing it.
Yep. I like that.
So yeah, just kind of having that position where it's like, yeah, like I dream of the day where a mum comes home and she's like, hey, I saw this esports thing for you. Are you interested? Do you want to go and see this summer camp? I'll buy you a new keyboard and I'll get you that mouse you need so you can play better. And I think it can happen. It's just where it needs to go.
I would argue that we're really close to that now.
We are, yes.
Like, we're that specific scenario, right? Like mom is like, hey, I want you to chase your dreams. I want you to follow these things,
Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but yeah, there's this great story I love telling, which is a PA Cup last year. This mum was outside with her kid. She was like, you see that guy on the other team, Hydro? She was like, demo him every time. Don't give him any space in the ball. I want you to demo. Don't let him aerial. Don't let him flip reset. I was like, it's amazing. Like, yeah, the mother was like, oh yeah, in the kid's face. The kid was like, yeah, no, I've got this. She was like, here's your controller. She's like, demo him, and he did. The kid went and demoed, and the mum was at the back cheering. She had an Eagles blanket on. They'd ordered pizza. We were there for 12 hours, and it was an amazing experience.
That's
so
awesome.
it is. We are getting there. You are right on that.
Absolutely. Are there any projects or like things that you're working on that you're just super excited about that are upcoming and new?
My classes. I'm always happy about those. If there's any students listening, please register. CEN, making somewhat of a recovery this year. Again, we don't know what shape it's going to be, but we know we're going to try and make our way back. Very excited about that. Yeah. And CFGC expanding into more of a, not saying that we are, but more of a legitimized independent league in this space that people really recognize. And it's cool because at events now I have people that will say, oh, I'm recruiting for a fighting game spot this year. And I'm like, no, that's sick. That's awesome. That's what we want to hear. Yeah, it's amazing. and I can want the same on the other side to say, like, kids are like, hey, I have this journalism student. Would you at CN give them a writing position? Like
Yeah,
that's really where I'd love to go, is creating these
yeah,
spaces for these students to just
absolutely.
work and get that experience at.
And I really think that esports can be that vehicle
Yeah.
to providing this path to all of these different areas. Some schools are focused on the path to pro, but there's so many other ways to go pro at this, right? Like it's not just like a competitive thing. There's other
Mhm.
avenues, and there's definitely ways that we can continue to evolve that. We are obviously getting to that time where I want you to let people know how to get in touch with you, share your socials, do all the things, because then we're gonna hit some rapid fire questions right before we go. But how do people find you on the internet? How do they contact you? How do they reach out?
Perfect. It's at KyberTS underscore. Other people think it's Kyberts, which I'm fine with either way. LinkedIn, Tom Screech. That's really the only two platforms I have. My Facebook got hacked and deleted, and Instagram went with it. So I just have Twitter and LinkedIn now. That I'm a very boring person.
There you
Um,
go.
you can have my email address. No, I'm joking. Yeah, that's my main two places to find me.
Awesome. I love that. Okay. Rapid fire
I'm ready.
question. What trends are you seeing with students entering the scene, and what skills are they bringing with them?
Oh, very interesting. Passion is the biggest one, I'd say. People are coming in more passionate than ever. They're coming in with a better idea of what they want to do in the space, which is amazing. But yeah, the passion I've seen these new students take on. My old students are very passionate too, but like they come in with this like hunger. They're like,
Yeah,
I know what esports is, and this is what I want to do in the
yeah.
space. So
Love
definitely that's
that.
really cool.
Love that. So, students wanting to get involved in tournament organization or partnerships, where do they start?
Volunteering.
Yes.
People, partnerships and sponsorships is really great because there's a lot of lackey work that needs to be done. So there's a lot of sifting through LinkedIn and getting email addresses. There's a lot of I call it scouting. So it's
Yep.
like, okay, go and read all these articles and tell me every single name of a sponsor that's in it, and then we'll go and reach out to them.
Yeah.
It's I used to do it for sports because at Playfly they teach you really well. It's like, you know, I can never watch a sports game the same anymore because now all I see is adverts everywhere, and the Taco Bell take comes up, and I'm like, how much did they sell that for? What,
Yeah.
like,
Yep.
how long is it? How was the contract? How many years is it? So it's kind of building those skills of like being curious
Yeah.
about the businesses you see.
Yeah.
Why is the logo on the front of my microphone the way it is? How has it been placed there? What companies were involved to bring it forward?
And a lot of
Um,
thought went into that specifically, like,
exactly. Yeah, exactly. So building those critical analysis skills and sponsorship scouting, like just start being curious about how the business world works.
I love that. Be curious. Yeah. You've obviously touched a lot of different parts of the ecosystem. What do you think is like the most important room for growth in the world of esports?
Um, Communication,
Yeah.
probably. There are a lot of areas for rooms for growth for esports, but I'd say communication is the biggest one, and also like figuring out our timekeeping
Yeah.
would be huge.
Yeah.
Like we cannot work from 7 a.m. till midnight every single day. Like it needs to that we need to turn off. People need to shut off the PC and get some time um, outside and offline. I'm very guilty of being online too much too.
Yep, definitely. What's the moment in your career that made you kind of step back and say, "Yo, I actually get to do this. Like, what? This is crazy, right? Like, what was that moment for you?"
Uh, when we were expanding titles, and I spent the entire day playing video games to see what overlays look like. Uh, I was like, there is no way I'm being paid to see. Does this overlay look better? What
Yeah,
does this overlay look better? I was like, this is ridiculous. It was the best day.
best day.
I was like, I'm being paid to play video games right now,
Yep.
and I think that's the coolest thing is like I'm still involved in video games
Yeah,
somehow.
absolutely, absolutely. All right, what advice do you have for someone trying to break into the business side of esports or collegiate esports?
Um, it's a great question. The business side specifically, I'd say it's really um, finding a place to just practice any business skills. Like my first job was at a call center. I used to do like 50, 60, 70 calls a day trying to sell builders
Yeah,
like building material. And that was the worst thing in the world because I was phoning busy stressed out guys during the day while they were on a work site, and they're like, why are you phoning me? So it's things like that. Like, yeah, maybe it's not in esports right away, but maybe you can go and get a business job that lets you work on event management, because people need salespeople for anything. Salespeople are always needed. So building those skills and then figuring out how you can take them into esports. Like, okay, well, I've worked on doing all these calls. I build pitch decks. I sent them out for my job, and then I'll go home and I'll volunteer on a league. It's exactly what I used to do. Like, you go home, you volunteer, you work until 10, 11, and then you go to bed and you don't play video games anymore. But that's what you have to do sometimes. You have to do that legwork to build those skills.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, final question. What do you think your legacy is in the space, and what impact do you hope to leave behind?
Big question. I would say optimism is a good one. I'm very optimistic about the space. I want people to see me and be like, he's optimistic about the space. He thinks things are going to go well. This is good. This is someone we want to get involved. I would say that it's being someone that advocates for the involvement of everyone within esports, but also the advocation that esports isn't just competitive gaming. It is every other element, which everyone always talks about. But it is, we've all seen that graph of jobs in esports. It's like, you can still do gaming and do business. You can still do this and do this. Like, just because you can't code and you didn't make it pro doesn't mean you're completely out of the scene. Like, you can still be involved and get to a point where, because it's even just cool just sitting down and like, you're talking about a project, and you can just talk about FaZe and Optic, and you can talk about Cloud9, and you can talk about TSM, and then you can go and say, you can go and tell about the time you sat and watched all this League of Legends, and you can kind of build from that. So it's like, you can be passionate, be passionate. Just yeah. I hope I'm known for that, being the passionate optimist.
Absolutely. Well, Tom Screech, thank you so much for being on the show today, man. Always a pleasure to get to talk to you, get to see you. The next episode of Have Game Will Travel is going to be with Chris Lama, esports manager, co-chair for Waterloo Region Esports Commission, which is going to be a great episode. We will be back. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time. Have a great one.